An executive decision has been made. I'm going to DNF it. I know that I said in the last vlog that I was enjoying it. I know that I said I was going to give it a go, but I am just not reaching out for it. And that's never really a good sign if it's a book that I'm reading. It's never a good sign if I'm just not going for it. So I'm on my lunch break right now. I have just finished the audiobook of Welcome to Your Life by Bethany Rutter, and I really enjoyed this one. It's got really good fat representation. It's got really great strong female friendships in there. It's got some LGBT representation. I will say that I didn't love the outcome of one of the dates. It felt a little bit kind of manic pixie dream boy, if that is a thing. That was the vibe that I got from it, and I don't particularly know if that is an outcome that I really wanted from this book. But I've gone on to a new written book and a new audiobook. The audiobook that I'm listening to is Bime on Bianca Del Rio by Bianca Del Rio. I've listened to the first maybe 20 minutes of it at 2.5 speed, and I will say, if Bianca's not your cup of tea, do not reach for this book, because it is incredibly, intrinsically Bianca Del Rio. It's got her humor. It's got her kind of really sharp, acerbic tongue. And it reads perfectly as a Bianca book, but I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't really appreciate the things that she says. So you do have to keep that in mind if you are ever going to reach for it. And the book that I am reading in written form is an ebook. It's a NetGalley copy of The Summer Trip by Isabel Broom. I've read quite a lot of Isabel's other books. I think I've read pretty much all of them so far. They are all based in some really beautiful locations across the world. You have got books set in Thailand, in New Zealand, in Spain, in the Czech Republic. And this one is going back to Greece, which is where the first book that she ever wrote was set. And I'm kind of hoping that this is going to be kind of like an Isabel Broom version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in that characters from this book are going to appear in this book. Let's see how it goes. I've tried putting up my hair. I don't know if it worked. I have 5 books left on my 15 before 30 TBR, and in conjunction with Not Safe for Workathon and with Buzzwordathon and with the buy flag books that I have picked out to read for June, I'm going to really try and get those 5 books ticked off. So I'm going to start with the one that makes me the most apprehensive, The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. I understand that this is based off of a real man named Lale, who I believe was Slovakian and came to Auschwitz and had to tattoo the numbers on the arms of all of the people who were brought to Auschwitz. I have a feeling that this one is going to be a difficult read, and I will admit that I have seen a couple of kind of mixed reviews of this that didn't particularly love the idea of a love story and a romance being set into such a horrific time in human history. I'm going to listen to the audiobook of this, and I'm going to kind of seesaw between the two of them. So I've listened to the first chapter of the audiobook yesterday, and so I will probably try the second chapter of this later on after work. I always try and match the ribbon of my bookmarks to the colour on the cover. So I went with the blue this time. And I have to say that the lighter blue that I have on my bookshelf, I don't think that that's appropriate given the subject matter of the book. So we've scrapped the light blue and we've gone for kind of a navy, which, I mean, it doesn't look super bad. I'll take it. This is exciting. When I went through my final tooth extraction, I actually got a €15 voucher for Amazon from an extra tooth insurance that I've taken out. I'm going to rip this. You want to watch? Beautiful. And so with that €15 voucher, I decided that when I had done the worst, I was going to treat myself. And I did. You will have seen back in the start of May vlog that I got a gift of the first book in the series, Crazy Rich Asians. So now I also have Rich People Problems and China Rich Girlfriend. I think this is the second one and this is the third one. But I have really enjoyed Crazy Rich Asians, and I knew that... Oh yeah, this one says number 3. I really enjoyed Crazy Rich Asians when I read it first, but I borrowed it from a friend of mine, and she moved away, so I never actually got to have the other 2 books from her. So I've got a copy of the first book, and now I have another copy of the other two as well, ready to start the series. Worried or concerned that my skincare regime had stopped because I haven't been doing it on camera recently, don't be. I am rapidly approaching my 30s. If anything, it has ramped up. You can kind of see my head in the mirror there. So I have just finished, maybe about 5 minutes ago, The Tattoos of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. So I've seen a couple of kind of mixed reviews on this one, and I have to admit I am also in camp mixed. When I ran it through CoPile just now, I ended up giving it about 3.5 stars, which feels legit. So it is based on the true story of Lela and how he found his wife while he was in Auschwitz, and they both escaped, and their eventual reunion when they both get back to their home country of Slovakia. It doesn't feel like a very historically accurate portrayal of Auschwitz. I don't really see any of the SS guards rounding up a group of 11 prisoners to play a game of soccer against them. I don't particularly think that that is actually what had happened. It's also quite a dialogue heavy book. There's a whole lot of dialogue the whole way through, and I don't necessarily know if that's a story style that I'm completely in love with. Overall, I don't know if this is the kind of book that you should be reading if you're into learning about the Holocaust, if you want to learn about that time of human history. I don't think that this retelling of his life is going to be the one that you should go and aim for. However, it is another book finally ticked off the 15 before 30 list, and now I have 4 of them left to go. I think if there's one that I'm going to pick up next, it's going to be Homework by Julie Andrews. I need something that's a little bit comforting. I need something that's very familiar. And what is more familiar than the woman who graced my screen so often when I was younger? She was Mary Poppins. She was Maria from The Sound of Music. She was Mia's grandmother in The Princess Diaries. I think the day that we lose Julie Andrews, I'm going to have to take a day off and go into personal mourning. So that's The Tattoos of Auschwitz finished. I listened to some of it as an audiobook. I listened to some of it in work today, and it was quite easy to follow. I didn't particularly feel like I was losing anything from having not read it as a physical book, so I do think it's a quite good audiobook, and it's read by Richard Armitage. So if you enjoy him as an actor, he's also quite good as an audiobook narrator. I'm now in the market for a new audiobook, and I'm between 2. They're both from my June TBR because none of the rest of the 15 before 30s actually have an audiobook, so I'm going to have to read them as physical books. First option is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Belfleur. I know that this is sapphic, I know that it is enemies to lovers, I know that it is fake dating, and those are 3 things that are kind of buzzwords for me when it comes to books. The other option is the first Bridgerton book, The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. One of the big reasons that I want to read this book is that I would love to start actually watching the series, but I am a bit of a traditionalist and I have to read the book before I get onto the series. And I know a couple of people have said to me, don't even bother with the book. It's not great. It is coming on to about 9:30 at night, so I think I'm going to sit with my decision on which audiobook to start with tomorrow. I'm going to sit with that overnight. But I'm going to start, I don't know where it is on my shelf, I'm going to start Homework before I get into bed. Maybe read a couple of chapters before I fall asleep. And that also does mean that The Summer Trip by Isabel Broom has kind of fallen to the wayside just for a little bit. I probably will go back to it in July. It's just a not right now kind of book because I very much overdid myself with the books that I have to read for June. weekend. I didn't bring you here, but I did bring you here with me to Hamburg. And I didn't bring Julie Andrews with me just because the book was way too chunky. It's pretty sturdy. But I am about 40 pages into it. I am enjoying it. It's kind of a second memoir of hers, but what I really appreciate about this one is that it will actually tell you what you've missed from the first one, because I haven't read her first biography, I haven't read her first memoir, so I missed all of that. This one picks up after she has moved to Hollywood. It starts with her getting the job on Mary Poppins, and it's telling you all about that. And the part that I'm at now, she has just gotten the part of Maria on The Sound of Music, which is my second big Julie Andrews role in my life. So I'm really excited to actually just sit back and do nothing for the rest of the evening and just read this. I'm holding some sprints later on with Michelle and with Lexie, and I'm really excited, A, to actually just get reading, and B, to even just see the two of them, because I'm starting to really appreciate our friendship in the little book community. So I'm very excited to just kick back, this book, a drink, maybe get a takeaway, because all of the shops are closed in Berlin today. It's a public holiday and I have nothing in the house to actually have for dinner. So I might have to be a little bit bold, forget about all the money that I've just spent and spend a little bit more so that I can stay alive. I mean, you'll gift me that, right? Today, and while I was there I finished Written in the Stars and read some of it as a Kindle book on the way to the office and listened to the rest of it when I got there. It just so happened that when I got to the office, one of the steamiest scenes in the book started, so that made my first maybe half an hour of work very interesting. But overall, book is finished and I did really enjoy this. I know that it's something that was definitely going to appeal to all of my tastes, so I knew that it was a book that I was going to end up loving. I also really enjoy the kind of softening of Darcy's hard edges as you go towards the end of the book. She starts out as very kind of cynical, very hard-hitting, very hard-edged, and then when you get towards the end of the book, Darcy is a lot more softened, a lot less world weary, I would say. I really loved the whole idea of zodiac signs, of what your star sign says about you. I actually kept a note of all of the times that they did that kind of BuzzFeedy quiz type, what your star sign says about your favorite Christmas song, or what your star sign says about your favorite rom-com, and things like that. I've kept a list of all of the ones that they said about cancers, and I'm gonna either watch the films, listen to the songs, eat the food. I'm going to do all of the stuff and see if it actually fits into my personality as the Cancer girl. Not that kind, the Zodiac kind. That is the second, I believe, book from my June TBR ticked off and completely done. And I don't know where to go next. I know that I did a poll and I put the first Bridgerton book as the other option on the poll. But at work, I have a really heavy meetings day, so I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be able to sink my teeth right into the audiobook right from the get-go, because the meetings that I have are going to be lasting from 9:30 in the morning till about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I have got the physical copy over there, somewhere hidden along all the blue-spined books, and I know that the audiobooks are pretty much all on script. So what I might do is just listen to the audiobook when I finish those meetings tomorrow and see how I'm enjoying it. I know a couple of people who have said they didn't really enjoy the books. I know that Aoife from Words of Clover said that she enjoyed the second book more than she enjoyed the first one. And there is a couple of other people who've said, actually, you don't really even need to read the books at all if you're going to watch the show. And that's maybe the primary reason that I'm going to read them in the first place. As well as that, I have on these vlogs read a couple of other historical romances, and I think we can all agree it's not been the baptism of fire I was hoping it would be. So maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, I will get on maybe even just a little bit better with the Bridgerton books. Let's see. I completely forgot to say this, by the way. I have picked up a Scribd ebook copy of All American Girl Ready or Not by Meg Cabot. You can see Michelle and Lexie's prints are in the reflection on my mirror. It's 8:30 in the evening, and I'm going to pick it up again before I go to bed. It's the second book of the All American Girl duology, which I really enjoyed when I was younger. I haven't really read them since I was younger. The second book has a little bit more adulty themes than the first book. It talks much more about sex, losing your virginity, all those kind of things. I'm mainly reading it because it fits into the June buzzword-a-thon prompt for all, in that All American Girl is in the title, but also it finishes off the duology prompt for the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge. Never change your skincare, okay? It's about 11 o'clock at night. I have been solidly reading, I would pretty much say, for the entire evening. Becca from Becca and the Books doesn't do a lot of reading sprints as far as I'm aware, but what she does have on her channel is a kind of a Pomodoro reading sprint timer where you do 4:25s, I believe it's 4:25 minutes of sprinting reading, and then 5-minute breaks where you can, go to the bathroom, get some tea, go on your phone, do whatever. I kind of set myself the challenge this evening that I wanted to finish Homework by Julie Andrews, and come hell or high water I was going to do it, and I did. I put Becca's video on, sat down, I made a cup of tea at the start, I bought myself some donuts while I was out and I ate those. Ate one during the first 5-minute break, ate one during the second 5-minute break while I was making a second cup of tea. And I just finished the book and had a wonderful time doing so. As you may well imagine, it is the life story of Julie Andrews, grandmother to absolutely everybody. This is her second memoir, and it follows her from kind of 1964 to about 1985 or 6, I think. It starts when she has just gotten the role of Mary Poppins, and it brings you all the way up to when she filmed Victor and Victoria, and when she was starting her career on Broadway. Now, I kind of think that the way that it ends out, there is scope for another memoir, and if Julie wanted to bless me with that, I am not going to tell her not to do it. It wasn't all rosy in Julie's life. She's had a lot of people that she loves affected by drug abuse, drug addiction, illnesses. She's had a couple of people that are very close to her and her second husband die by suicide, and some of those chapters can be quite difficult to read. But on the flip side of that, it's so heartwarming to see pictures of Julie and her family together, to read passages about their time together, how they celebrated holidays, vacations that they went on. They even went and spent some time in Ireland. They lived in Carton House for a couple of months while she was filming something. Carton House is in Kildare, which is about an hour and a half away from Dublin. What I really loved about this book as well is that there's quite a lot of diary entries kind of peppered throughout the book, I would say, and they give you a much deeper insight to what Julie was thinking or feeling or experiencing in these situations than you would have had without putting them into it. It's written in tandem with her eldest daughter, Emma, and I never really thought that this wasn't somebody else telling Julie's story, if you get what I mean. But I think that this is the one book that I've read so far this year that would benefit the most from a read by the author style audiobook. I just think it would be so comforting to sit there and listen to Julie Andrews' voice telling you her story. Now, I know that she's had quite a lot of struggles with her voice in the later years of her life, and I know that it's not at the timbre that we would be familiar with from the Julie of old, but even if she could read out like a passage of the book to me, I would leave this earth a happy person. Another one closer on the 15 before 30 list, and I think I'm going to stray away from that just a little bit and go back to the June TBR, and there's 2 specific books that I have in my little tiny brain at the moment. The first one is going to be an ebook for sure, because it's the only way I can access it, of Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. This is kind of like a MasterChef kind of show. It's like a cooking show, and two of the contestants have this really fiery relationship with each other, and then that heat and chemistry ends up translating into their relationship off screen and all of that. And it's also got a non-binary character, which sadly I have to admit it's not something that I've read quite a lot of, and I'm really excited to see that portrayal. And the second book that I'm going to read is one that I'm very concerned about. I'm going to get the audiobook of The Duke and I, the first book of the Bridgerton series by Julia Quinn. I have got a physical copy, so if the audiobook and I don't gel, I can go back and I can try and flip between the two of them. I'm also going to be hosting some sprints with Michelle on her channel tomorrow evening, so much like what I just did with Becca's video, I am going to have a very structured reading evening, very structured reading experience. I'm just going to give it a try. What's the worst that could happen? One person told me that Bridgerton's first book is a fake dating trope in it. Last night, there was sprints on my channel with Lexie and with Michelle, and I finally finished this morning, just before I went to work, I finished Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. I think this is a very high 3.5, maybe a very low 4-star book for me. There were a couple of things that I didn't love. There were a couple of things that I really loved, and it was just a mid-road overall for me. Things that I didn't love include, for some reason, the cooking show. I love a MasterChef. I love a bake-off. I love a chef's table. I love anything that has to do with food, with reality TV. Those two mashed together, perfect. But there were things about this one that I just didn't gel with. I think it wasn't explained properly, or it wasn't written in a coherent way that I knew exactly what was going on, what was the challenge, who was being eliminated, why they were being eliminated. I remember there was one specific elimination involving one of the main characters that I actually had to go back and read it again and say, is it they that have been eliminated, or is it the person that they were up against? What I did love about this book is the representation in it. Both of the main characters are queer, one of them is non-binary, one of the main characters has a transgender brother, and that is written with so much heart, so much respect, so much tact. Something that stood out to me even at the very beginning of the book, before Dahlia knows that London is non-binary, she's still using the correct pronouns. She's still referring to them as they. She is still referring to them as a person across the room, rather than with gendered pronouns, which is something that I really loved and I hope that we see more often in books. So that's that one done. And now I don't know where to go, and that is a genuine thing. I have no idea what I'm going to read next. I know that I've got a book lined up for Monday. Paige and I decided last night that we're going to buddy read Felix Ever After together, but she needs this week to finish out a book that she's on at the moment. I've started the audiobook for The Duke and I, which is the first of the Bridgerton books. I started the audiobook of it on Sunday on the bus to the fun fair that you saw me at. I didn't know it was a fake dating trope, so that was an instant love of this book. Overall, I think I'm kind of gelling with it a little bit better than I expected to, and I don't know if that's because of the fake dating. I don't know if it's because of the writing style. I don't know what the situation is, but I'm enjoying this one more than any of the historical romances that I've read recently. I think rather than go back to the physical book, I might just continue on with the audiobook because I'm doing so well with it. But now I don't know what to read as a written book. I don't know where to go. I don't know if I'm going to do something from the 15 before 30 list, which has 2 books, I think, maybe 3 left to go. I don't know if I'm going to go to my summer TBR, which, when you take away Bridgerton, has just 1 book left on it to go. I'm going to sit with it for the rest of the workday and figure out where I want to go. I feel like my trying to decide where to go next and what book I'm going to read next is like a natural end to this part of the month's vlog. So I think I'm going to leave it here, and the next time that you see me, I'll hopefully have found something to read. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.